Okay. All right. Awesome. I'm so excited to be here. I think it has slowed down just getting people into the room. I do not like to share my screen while I'm still admitting people, because then I stop seeing all of those invites. So one thing I want to do is just say how excited I am about this. Before I get started, I do want to introduce myself, because I see a lot of new names, a lot of people I don't know. I also see familiar faces, which I'm so excited. I see friends, family, all of the above, friends that I call family. And I want to introduce myself. So my name is Jennifer Strother. I love health and wellness. I love health and wellness from a natural, holistic, functional standpoint, and helping your body function from the inside out without hiccups. I love researching, I love hard projects, and I love making it work. With that said, I am the owner of Thrive Well Solutions, helping us find solutions for our body to function at its maximum capacity. Let's see. Sorry, most people are joining. So who doesn't want their body to function at maximum capacity? So I work with clients to resolve chronic, confusing, frustrating health conditions that leave us all puzzled, going, what in the heck is going on with our body? I use that using a DTS framework. I look at deficiencies, toxicities, and sensitivities in the body. And we do that by testing the body first to see what those sensitivities are, what the deficiencies are, what the toxicities are. And in order to do that, I've always used a testing first model. So you may say, what in the heck does that have to do with peptides? And that's why I'm so glad you are here. So I do work with clients, which means I have time to focus on their personal needs. I focus on things that actually make a difference rather than finding band-aids. That is not, if you know me well, I do not want a band-aid. I don't want a pill. I don't want to take it and just an easy solution. So I am a functional health and wellness specialist. I'm certified in functional nutrition, functional blood work, and neurotoxicity. I want to look at that gut and that brain connection to say, where are we missing function? How can we establish function and work with your body from a gut-centered focus from the inside out? That's where peptides are going to come into our conversation today. But I do want to make a disclaimer before I start. I am not suggesting or prescribing anything to you today. Okay, so do not take anything in this call as medical advice. Some of you may be my clients. I see some clients that are in the room, and I'm so excited you're here. But again, we need to talk about your situation on a personal level. So there you go. Now we can get into the fun stuff. I am going to share my screen. And with that, I know I told some of you that I was not going to have your Fathom in here, like recording me word for word. That's just not my comfort zone. But I don't care what you screenshot. Okay, so there you have it. So can you see my screen? Can you see the slideshow presentation? Give me a thumbs up. Dee Dee, can you see it?
Yes.
Yes, awesome. Yay. Okay, perfect. Okay, so here we are, DNA Peptide Strategy Workshop. I've introduced myself. I do not like to guess. I hate it, actually. It drives me absolutely insane. And so we're going to go through and identify exactly what fits your biology. That is why I have testing around DNA peptide strategies. That's why I have entered this realm of nutrition, this realm of functional health, because they are powerful tools. But power without precision leads to inconsistent results. So the difference is not that the peptide and that you're taking it and you're getting some amazing results from it, but the difference is actually how it is selected and applied. Okay, so the selection makes a really big difference. All right, so most peptide clinics start with just peptides. Hey, you want one? Let me see your blood work. Is your blood sugar unstable? What's your A1C? You know, like, are you overweight? How old are you? Do you want to lose 10 pounds? Okay, let's give you a shot. I have hesitated entering this world because of that. Okay, the abuse has made me kind of step back. All right, the abuse of peptides is why it is now March of 2026 and Jennifer's just now having her first peptide conversation, because I've seen people abusing it. Honestly, when it first hit the market, I thought, okay, so they didn't kill enough people with COVID. Here we go. Here's the next thing. Let's like figure out how we're going to kill some more people, right? So like I'm just so skeptical. And then I saw people abusing it. And yes, they were skinny, just like I had a friend on Octavia, and she had lost so much weight. Yes, she was skinny, but she had no hair. Okay, I mean, like her hair had fallen out. Her thyroid had gone crazy using these fad plans to lose weight. And I know you've seen people walking through the grocery store and you're like, yep, she's on the shot, right? Hair's gone. They're so skinny. Their face is sunken in. They've lost all their muscle capacity. I mean, honestly, their bone density, osteoporosis. I've seen studies where it says, you know, osteoporosis is going to be the next big thing. The abuse is crazy. Okay, so until there was a test to help me define clarity around how we could establish peptides for my clients, I was like, heck no. It is not about the money for me. I have seen so many ads, add peptides. It's the next big thing. It'll add so much revenue to your business. I'm like, I don't care how much revenue it's going to add. I mean, that's just not at all how I'm going to operate. So I start with your biology and precise testing. The difference here is we have to select and apply the right thing for your body. So peptides are one of the fastest tools to use, okay, in recovery, metabolism, inflammation, longevity, and body composition, but the results vary dramatically. Okay, we had a Galentine's, even my age, we can have Galentine's. It's the biggest thing right now in our young people. So my friends and I just decided to jump on board with that this year and have Galentine's. And we're at Galentine's, and of course the conversation comes up of who's on peptides. And I remember one girlfriend saying that she had lost 40 pounds, and I had another girlfriend on the exact same protocol that had gained 5 pounds. And how frustrating can that be? Especially when you're looking at weight loss. But my list here that you see on the screen does not necessarily focus on weight loss. And that's where peptides can be so powerful. And the results do vary, but you can get strong results when you're using the right peptides. So it's not do they work, but it's which peptides actually fit your biology and how can you determine that. So this workshop is for you. And I would like for you to put in the chat section, like, what brought you here? Like, what got you to this workshop? You can even put here if you identify with number 1, 2, 3, or 4. Do you feel that you're doing a lot of things right, but you're not getting anywhere? Are you curious about peptides, but you want data first? You know, that's like me. I'm like, I'm not touching this with a 10-foot pole. I will go to Body Pump every morning at 5 a.m. and I will eat a, you know, very, very low sugar, low carb diet, except for my greens and my nutrition. I will do anything, but I was like, I'm not touching these with a 10-foot pole. And I mean, I'm going to stand here and I'm going to admit it until the cows come home. And then I was interested in the precision and not the trends. All right, who's there? Yes. So a lot of people considering them, right? But you're looking at the abuse that I've talked about and you're like, not at all. And then some of you are here going, I would really like something for a long-term strategy that's not a random trial and error. Because I know some of you are doing a lot of hard work like going to body pump at 5 a.m. and going and, you know, making your nutritional changes, but you don't feel like you're getting the results for the effort that you're putting in. And that's where we start to lose hope. And honestly, that's why I'm here, is I hate seeing people lose hope. It can be so discouraging to see how clients' metabolism, adrenals, you know, yes, our genetics play a part, but it's like, what genetics have been cut on? What's been cut off? How can we amplify that? But it is very discouraging to see when, you know, we have a lot of things going on in our lives today. And if you're in my generation, and you're raising kids and you're sitting at a ballpark for 20 hours a week, sometimes we get to a point to where there's just not enough time to do anything else. But now I'm not going to let that be an overall excuse if you're doing nothing. Okay. So working out, gaining muscle, focusing on your nutrition has to be still at the core of your focus. So again, peptides. A lot of people, this is what I don't want you to do. Okay. I do not want you to choose peptides based on symptoms, recommendations, trends, and generalized protocols. I don't want you calling your friend and being, hey, what was that you're using again? Right? What was that? What worked good? Because remember the conversation at Galentine's? You may gain 5 pounds. You may waste that money and gain weight. You may waste that money and gain, you know, like have some bad symptoms. You may waste the money, have inconsistent results, frustration, and growing skepticism. I'm going to add right here that if you are not pooping every single day, why in the world would you add a peptide to slow down your digestion? I mean, it slows down digestion and makes you feel full and satisfied and all the wonderful things, but it's causing more trouble for the problem you already have. So sometimes we've got to work on the body first. And once I get you pooping every day, we can add tools to your tool bag. But if you're not detoxing and then you continue to slow down detoxification, you're going to be that person losing lean muscle mass, losing your bone density. And you know, so just know that it's not always a win-win situation. So I love this picture. Okay, I know I'm going to say a lot, but I want you to really think of some simple things today. So this is like building blocks, okay? And your body, when we think of peptides, we can think of peptides as these building blocks. They're short chain amino acids. They're building blocks that make up protein. They send signals in the body. But right now, I want you to think about how many yellow pegs you're missing in your body. Do you feel like your body's missing function? Like you feel like those yellow pegs there are simply missing. So think of peptides like they're targeted messages. They turn the process on, they reignite your yellow pegs. Okay, your yellow pegs that have honestly just gone dead. They turn the process back on and they turn some processes down. Okay, like GLP-1s. It's one everybody talks about, so I'm going to talk about it some in my examples because I know that's what you've heard. But there's over 170 peptides right now. Okay, I mean, like mind-blowing, right? When you've probably heard of 2 or 3 because you want to lose weight. Or you've heard about some for inflammation and repair, which are phenomenal. Okay, they do repair tissue. They regulate pathways. Peptides, they bind to receptor sites and trigger points. Okay, so they trigger tissue repair. They trigger inflammation control. They trigger your metabolism regulation, energy production, and muscle growth. Now, what if you don't have the receptor sites turned on or available? This is where I talk about cellular health. Okay, and I talk about cellular health a lot when I'm working with females and hormones. And if that inflammation is covering the cell, So you have communication coming in and simply bouncing off. This is what I see every day with thyroid communication. Okay, there's inflammation around that cell. And when you do blood work, your hormones are going to look good because there's enough out there in your blood, but nothing soaking into the cell. Or your gut's not healthy, so that thyroid conversion can't happen in the gut. So you're at a standstill. All right, I'm continuing to let people in the room. Okay, so the signals in your body. All right, we've got missing pegs, we have missing signals. We need these targeted messages to be turned back on. I like to think of this sometimes, honestly, as I've heard it rhythm, you know, like the peptides bring the rhythm back in the body. And if you're in perimenopause or a woman right now, I'm like, do you feel out of rhythm? Like, hello, it's pretty darn, you know, we feel out of rhythm a lot. I know I have some guys on here, but bear with me. I know you have women in your life, and sometimes men feel out of rhythm too. And nothing worse, but we're here on this picture, we're all dealing with hormonal shifts. We're all dealing with immune-driven metabolic dysfunction. We're all dealing with visceral fat in our body, surrounding our body, and just with all these time changes in our body, it's pushing the immune system toward an inflammatory state. And I talk about inflammation until the cows come home, because what's driving the inflammation? Your deficiencies, your toxicities, your sensitivities. If we're not working from the ground up, then this is just another tool to see if it works. Okay, but I'm going to talk about restoring the body and amplifying the body so we can see exactly what can work for you. So peptide results do vary because we all are different. We're all human. Nobody on this call is the same. Our immune signaling is different. Your immune signaling and your inflammation, mitochondria, metabolic hormones, peptides. Let me tell you one thing: stress. Stress can make it different for each and every one of us. Trauma, loss, big impacts that have happened in your life, your adrenals. Okay, your adrenals and your cortisol and your stress load on your body on a day-to-day basis. But that can also be the one thing holding you back from taking a 100% functional medicine approach and then feeling like you're continuously getting stuck. If you've seen some testimonies on my page, you may have seen one from a client of mine named Kim. Kim has lost over 20 pounds doing a phenomenal job in her program. In 90 days, over 20 pounds. Who couldn't be absolutely ecstatic about that? Okay, but she and I have also talked about how perimenopause is going to hit, and these inflammatory burdens and the stress load of her young kids right now while we're raising children, and the metabolic flexibility that we have to like kind of lean into. If you didn't have a good night's sleep, then you don't need to go eat that bad meal, right? Maybe you're having a good sleep and a low stress and all that, so it's a good day to get that glazed donut. I'm not saying that you can't eat anything, but we have to lean into our bodies and have flexibility. We have to look at every single point of it. So strong results in one person may mean little to no results in another person, because every one of our signaling pathways are completely different. All right, hang in there with me. I'm going through some details right now to where if you're a peptide fanatic, you may be like, oh, this is completely boring. But I'm going to give you pictures of the test. If you are a coach, a practitioner, if you have your own clients, I also have promotional deals today for those of you who want to order testing for your clients. Okay, so it may not be like you want one test, you may want 10, and we're going to talk about that. So hang in there with me, I'm getting there. Peptides are powerful tools. I've said that before, they don't work for everyone, they can fail. So if you've tried peptides, give me another like, hello, where are you? Check for all of the participants. I'd love to hear, like, have you tried peptides with no success? Have you tried them and gotten, you know, some real good results? Have you gotten some success, but don't feel like it's a long-term real strategy, right? Right. Sometimes we just don't know what's working for one and what's working best for another. Maybe you're interested but skeptical and still want quality and clarity. I can tell y'all that's where I was number 3. After testing my body, I am so excited I did not jump onto the trends, and I'm going to get to that when I show you the examples of testing, because I do know that I've gotten some results, right? I have, like, my blood sugar is crazy. I'll give you a little insight on me. I have the most erratic blood sugar. I can have one glass of wine, one something with sugar, and I sweat all night. So that's one thing, like with hormones. At first I thought, oh, I'm having hot flashes. No, it's my blood sugar. Okay. Like I don't sleep. I'm having night sweats. I don't call them hot flashes because I don't want you to get them confused with that. But, and then I just feel crappy the next day. So my blood sugar is all over the place. My brother was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes after not leaving alcohol alone for long enough, right? You know, so drinking and drinking and drinking, or just that bad behaviors, and you're diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, and it's like, oh, hello, I've got to get this under control. But what I don't like to do is to start by asking what is trending. So let's look at how we can look at your biology and make some differences. All right, before I do that, I want to tell you that my background is one that I'm going to tell you that you cannot out supplement nutrition. That is my favorite phrase. Okay, you cannot go and have that glazed donut every day and think that this is an end all be all for you, or you're going to be on it for the rest of your life. But chronic stress, I talked about that when I was talking about sleep, poor recovery, meaning no sleep at all, and metabolic dysfunction. Peptides are not a shortcut, but they do fix bad habits. I'm sorry, they do not fix bad habits. They do help amplify your body and amplify what is already happening in your body. So perhaps you've already made some good changes in your body and you're like, okay, I want to amplify this. This is where I was saying it's like a DJ. Okay, if things are in rhythm, you can amplify that DJ and it sounds great. But if things are not in rhythm and the DJ turns the volume up, you're going to get the squeal. I mean, like, you can even be in church or at a concert and they turn the amp up and you get that squeal and it's like, oh my gosh. But if it is in rhythm, then you can sit there and hear the music. It's gorgeous. Okay. Peptides are not designed to replace any of those habits, but they are designed to support your repair, recovery, and signaling. So let's create that strategy. First thing I want to tell you is your muscle matters. Okay, when you're looking at your strategy, your muscle matters. We know from long-term studies that with GLP-1s, you are going to lose some lean muscle mass if you're not working to build that muscle mass. Okay, so don't let that be the area where you're getting on the scales and being, I've lost 10 pounds, because guess what? That's not good for you at all. Your muscle drives your metabolism, your insulin sensitivity, and your longevity. So if you're not focused on long-term health, then you're damaging, as somebody said, peptides are your messengers. Absolutely. Right. But we have to support those messages. And for long-term health, you want your muscle mass, your metabolic strength, and your recovery. So focus on muscle. I always have to say that. Peptides also work best when your minerals are balanced. That cortisol is in rhythm. I talked about the hormones and the cortisol earlier. When your histamine load is reduced, so that stress on your body is lower, and mitochondrial energy is supported. Okay. If these 4 things with your, hormones, histamines, cortisol, minerals, gut health, inflammation, if you are not focused on the whole body perspective, then that is when your peptides can come in and be like, okay, I didn't get results. That felt neutral. Your responses are inconsistent. All right. Your progress can be slow. And that's not what I want. That's why I'm continuing to focus on the whole body perspective. So here's this picture again. All right, let's ensure it works. Let's make sure it creates function and that the function is restored in the areas that it's weak. So this is the old model. The old model is that you take your symptoms and you get a peptide protocol. The new model is that we have DNA testing that can test your DNA to see what peptides are going to bring you the biggest bang for your buck and which peptides are giving you those strong reactions. That data coming to a conclusion to build your peptide strategy. That way we are no longer guessing. Okay, no longer guessing. Instead of that, we're testing. I map out what that peptide protocol is for you. I match that up with the peptides available and with quality peptides, and we take implementation. So before choosing peptides, we map out a few things: your immune and inflammation patterns, metabolic stress, mitochondrial function, hormones, and peptide response pathways. The peptide response pathways comes from the testing, but as you can see, it is a whole big picture. This is where the results happen. So getting into peptides, this is the juice you came for. There's over 100 peptides available. There's actually over 100, about 170 right now, over 170. They do not all serve the same role. The goal is not more peptides, but the right peptides. Sometimes you'll hear me talk about a peptide stack, and it's because peptides work very well when we rotate them and when we're not using them every single day, but when we have a strategy to let them come in and calm the body. So here's an example of a possible phase one rotation that I see with a lot of clients. We talked about inflammation, okay? Inflammation and the repair. So we come in and we introduce targeted repair and immune modulating peptides. All right, has anybody heard of the ones here on the screen? SS31, VIP, and KPV, or am I speaking an entirely different new language? This is what I love to teach about, because we've heard of the ones that have been abused. Now, I'm not saying they don't work, but this is where you can get some long-term results, is by coming in and looking at your mitochondrial support first, by looking at your intestinal support first, and by looking at anti-inflammation peptides. Okay, so some of you have, and that's great. And I see people like, no. So the goal is to reduce the inflammatory load, support your mitochondrial, and balance your immune signaling. Then get started with what your body can use for your goals. Okay, because sometimes your goals are not happening right now, like weight loss, because your internal system is slow. It's not detoxing, you're not pooping, your liver's not working well, your kidneys aren't working well. So it's really good to come in and get that data first. Now I put this in here. I'm not going to talk about pharmacies. Some of you on here are using peptides. You have the places that you get them, but I do want to let those that don't have a place know, no, they do not all cause slow motility. Somebody just said that, not at all. Okay, that was just the GLP-1s. That is their, that is something that they are known for, is to slow the bowels. But no, they don't all cause slow motility. So I don't want everybody to think they're going to be constipated if you use a peptide. And the goal is that you're not, no matter what peptide you're using. So that is my goal, is to have proper bodily function the entire time. Okay. So the sourcing does matter with peptides, and this is another reason why I was hesitant, is, there's a lot of research peptides out there. You can go online, Google whatever peptide you want, find somebody who's going to give it to you at a really good price, right? Some, lower prices. And that's usually where I'm like, oh God, what is in that vial? And it does matter. So 503A pharmacies are very patient specific. They work with individual patients. They're compounded pharmacies. I'm sure everybody's heard of a compounded pharmacy. In our family, we have a corn allergy, so I even get Tylenol compounded. Okay. And the reason is Tylenol has corn starch in it. When you go to the CVS or the Walgreens and you buy Tylenol, it has cornstarch. Your Singulair, your Zyrtec, your Flonase, it all has cornstarch. If you react to grains, this is why I work with a DTS model. If one of your sensitivities is a grain sensitivity, then those medications that you may be thinking can help you, they can actually hurt you. So I go get Tylenol compounded. So this is no different. Working with proper facilities, though, makes a huge difference. Peptides are not FDA regulated at all. So the facilities sometimes are. So if you see the FDA on here, just know that the facilities sometimes are registered with the FDA, and that can be a really good thing, is to have some FDA oversight. Even though I don't like the FDA, I'm going to say that, but just making sure that they come from a good source. Now, this is the gray and black market. I'm just going to tell you, you can get a lot of peptides that have a lot of fillers that are going to give you long-term negativity. I don't care what your short-term results are. The first thing is endotoxins. Lipopolysaccharides have been found in a ton of research peptides. Those are endotoxins from the bacterial cell wall. Now, I'm not saying this as a fact, but the first thing that makes me think of is when I mean, a lot of clients are dealing with bacterial infections, candida, GI upset. And I'm like, we don't need additional toxins in our body. So residual solvents, synthetic products, inconsistent dosing and labeling, some work, and then you may get another vial, and I hear people say, oh, this one's not working the same, and then you get another one and it makes you sick. So it's like inconsistent dosing no matter what the vial says. A lot of times there's contaminants that are not removed through proper purification. The endotoxins can trigger immune activation, more inflammation, cytokine response, and flu-like or fatigue reactions. So if you have any of those reactions from any peptides that you get, then you need to be questioning the quality of that peptide. So clarity equals results. You want to use the science, the testing, and the protocols. Okay, I've already said that we have over 100 peptides. They identify the testing is a tool that connects your genetic signals with the peptide pathways that align best with your biology. So we're getting into the testing. Across areas like immune support, metabolism, mitochondrial function. I'm actually going to list every section of the test here in just a second. So it creates a personalized peptide strategy instead of guessing. Admit you. All right. If you've been guessing, following trends, not having clarity, this is where you're going to love it. It identifies your peptide pathway, builds your personalized strategy, and creates that long-term plan. Okay, here's the areas on the test. Okay, it's not just a few. It is so comprehensive that it literally blew my mind. And I've been doing testing for over 5 years now, tons of functional testing, and this has blown my mind. Hormone regulation and growth, cognitive enhancement, and brain health. Y'all, these are all the areas that then you have multiple peptides under each category that we're testing your body for responses. The immune system, tissue healing and inflammation, longevity and anti-aging. There's 2 fat losses. It's not a typo. Number 6 and number 11. Okay, fat loss and body composition peptides, and then they've actually broken it out. So you actually have its individual category to test different GLP-1s. I've got someone trying to enter the room. Okay, athletic performance. You may be in the gym, again, not getting the results that you're looking for, and you want to know what peptides are going to work for your body. Mitochondrial health and metabolic optimization, skin, hair, and cosmetics, libido and sexual function, and again, fat loss, okay, and body composition. What we don't want is fat loss without body composition, because those are the people we've identified walking through the store, right? You want to be the different. You want to have all that in a bag of chips when you feel good, right? And look just amazing. All right, here's an example of the test. So in this category, this is our the brain health and cognitive category. You can see that here. Now, I've heard a lot about Cmax. I've heard a lot about Selenium on both of these, but there's also risk to peptides. So Cmax is one of those that I'm not going to sit here and confirm or deny, like, whether or not you should take it, but there's a lot of information about how, if you have a cancer history, that you may not want to take Cmax. And this is why this is extremely important to me. Would I love something, you know, if you look at this and you're saying you've got the strong potential from Selenk based on mechanisms related to emotional regulation and stress resilience signal pathways. Okay, maybe you don't handle stress well. All right, maybe that help would be significant in your life, that adaptability, that mechanism, that steady sleep, you know, to have a steady sleep schedule and stress awareness, and to reduce that stress load. Think of what that can do in your hormones and your adrenals. I mean, just that support alone. But then knowing that you're not getting benefits from Cmax, like, okay, let me not even worry about that. And it's just so much clarity that you can have around what's going to work for your body and what's not. Now, this is that peptide weight loss category, that number 6 I showed you when I told you it was not a typo. And that one, you know, some of you may or may not have ever heard of the 5-amino 1-MQ or the AOD 9604. These are other weight loss peptides outside of the GLP-1 category that you can see this client's going to get some strong benefits from. But what was so great is these were brand new to the client, not even a focus, because all they had heard about were the other peptides. And when you look at the other peptides, such as tirzepatide, there's neutral benefits there. This client could have wasted a lot of money using tirzepatide and not gotten the results that they were wanting, or could have gotten then from these, right? The AOD 9604. And then here you can see that there were some increased benefits with semaglutide and retatrutide, but in today's market, we're hearing a ton about tirzepatide. All right, so it gives you the breakdown and the clarity around what you could take and get the strongest benefit from. Now, you may say, okay, there's 11 categories. Go back here. There's 11 categories, and if I'm going to get strong benefits from several under each category, where do I even start? Well, the great thing is some of the peptides are repetitive. So I'm going to, like, one of the clients' reports that we got back, tesamorelin showed up a ton. So, like, that's a great starting place because it was in several of these testing areas. So it breaks it down and allows us to create that peptide stack. So the personalized DNA blueprint, peptide blueprint, what it is this is a blueprint that I've, you know, created using the testing. It's just a name, nothing, you know, fancy, but what's included in the personalized DNA peptide blueprint is the DNA test kit. You're going to get a genetic peptide analysis, because those 11 categories and the peptides in each one, you need that professional reading. Okay, so that peptide analysis, you'll get a report evaluating your peptide response pathways and personalized peptide strategies, such as this is where I would start, right? And, then you can evaluate and see what's best for you in a one-on-one consultation. The timeline of what that looks like is week, 1, we're delivering you your test kit. I put week 1 to 2 here, just sometimes Friday overlaps to Monday, right? But weeks 3 and 5, the results are being analyzed by the lab. We get those test results back, usually around 6 weeks. And in that 60 to 90-day mark, you're starting to feel noticeable differences and improvements, energy recovery, inflammation, and vitality. Okay, so if you're interested, this slide's for you. You order your DNA testing, you complete your test. It's a buccal swab, super easy to do at home. If you've seen some of my videos, you've probably seen me doing that. I felt weird, but whatever, right? I don't really care. I can talk and brush my teeth at the same time too, so I can talk and do my buccal swab at the same time. But receive your peptide response blueprint, book your peptide review session, and build your next step strategy. So you'll get access to my calendar. All right, practitioners, clinicians, and coaches. Those of you that are on the call and saying, well, I want to be able to use these test kits for my clients. Absolutely. I mean, absolutely. More the merrier. I would love to see everybody getting clarity and stop the abuse. And I'm not saying that your clients are abusing it. Okay, please know, like, I know some people are doing a very good job of having control, but I'm just saying that that's happening as well. So for those of you that want to purchase 10 kits or more, go ahead and send me a message, comment bulk. And then if you order by Sunday night at midnight, you'll get access to a live one-on-one client review session with me. Okay, that way you're not going through this testing with your clients and going, I don't even know where to start, right? I'll help you get started. So I do want you to know that I am more than happy. And some of you are on here like it's just your iPhone is just iPhone with some numbers. I'm going to need you to send me a message, and Jennifer@thrivewellsolutions.com, and you can, communicate with me there. So Jennifer@thrivewellsolutions.com, because I won't know who you are. So here, most peptide clinics start with peptides. And yes, they're powerful tools, but I'm going to tell you that there's nothing like starting with the personalized DNA blueprint. It helps so much. So there was one slide. Let me stop sharing so I don't make you drunk as I'm going through here. But there's one slide I wanted to show you an example of a peptide stack, and I didn't see it. But I hope this was helpful for you. I love doing what I do because I can get, I use testing, right? If I had to sit here and guess and see what was going on in someone's body every day, it would get exhausting. But using testing, it allows you as the client, to get the clarity that you're looking for, because the last thing that I want to do is to be another doctor where you walk in and you are like getting blood work done, getting some test results done. I mean, and I'm going to use blood work as an example because it's so common that you're walking in and you're looking for that blood work, you're looking for answers, and they tell you that everything looks fine, right? When you feel like crap. So the one thing that I do is I use testing as that tool to help us identify exactly what's going on in your body and where to start. So, when we're looking at a couple different peptides and how to get started, I actually did show the slide. So I'm just going to continue there. But a couple things, I'll wrap up because we're almost hitting that hour mark. So those of you on the call, I hope this has been helpful. Number one, to help relieve your skepticism and your questions around peptides. If you're using peptides, learning how you can now use your DNA for 100% clarity on how to help you and your clients. The other thing is, if you are a coach, help the clients, right? So let's get the testing in your hands. Let's get started. Stop guessing, start testing, and give your body the tools to amplify, because I see so many, I'm going to say men and women, but I'm kind of laughing because I'm the woman right alongside you going, okay, what happens in your mid 40s when your rhythm is off, you know, just completely off? So what I've done here is I've dropped, you'll see the purchase link in the chat of this session. So if you are in this session and you want to go ahead and start ordering, what I do want to tell you is the first 10 people to order do get $50 off. So the testing, the entire blueprint, the one-on-one session with me and your peptide protocol is a total of $649. And if you want $50 off, the first 10 people get $50 off. So if it's something that you know you want to do, I would go ahead and jump on that. If it's something you want to think about, no pressure. Okay. I'm not a good salesperson. Even when I have one-on-one calls with my clients, I tell people all the time, think about it, sleep on it, pray about it, talk about it, call me back. Like, I'm not a pressure person. The last thing I want you to do is to feel that pressure. So is there a discount for multiple tests? Yes. 10 tests or more, there is a discount. So let's see if there's any other questions. There's only a few states that I can't work with, New York being one of those. Somebody asked about states. Okay. Thank you all for joining. I hope this was informative for you to, one, learn more about peptides, learn about the new testing options that we have available so you can test and get started with clarity to help your body. I want you to feel good. I want you to feel amazing. If you ever have any questions, you can come back to me, Jennifer@thrivewellsolutions.com. Have a wonderful day. You're getting an error with the link. No, I do not accept DNA testing from another lab. I need the actual buccal swab. And I'm sure they don't have that. Let me drop you the right link. Somebody said they're getting, maybe you need to copy it and paste it into a browser, but let me get that for you real quick. We'll also be sending that out in email. That went in a direct message. Let me send it to everyone. All right, I'm putting the ordering link in the chat again, just in case you weren't able to get that. Thank you so much for those of you that have commented, and let me know who you are. Again, if you do not hear from me, email me at Jennifer@thrivewellsolutions.com, and I will get that bulk order in for you. Okay. Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful weekend. Happy Friday. I hope it's sunshiny in your area and you can get out and enjoy the weather. One more. Yes. Keisha, thank you so much for joining. Good to see you, actually, or good to have you on here. Miss talking to you. Hey, Ken, good to talk to you too. All right, guys, have a wonderful weekend. Talk to you soon.